We're in the end game now for Once and Future, the one and only definitive 60th anniversary celebration. Forget the 60th anniversary, David Tennant, Catherine Tate, forget about it, okay? Because we have the one and only Blue Peter starring Christopher Eccleston in Once and Future, Time Lord Immemorial, with the alternative Doctor, aka the Unbound Doctor, David Warner, in a posthumous role for the 60th anniversary special. We've also got Gina McKee as a character you may be familiar with, the Lumiat, we'll get into that later, and also Nicola Walker, 8th Doctor, companion, Liv Chenka, and also Star of Robots, and also weird sand creatures from Sleep No More, maybe? We'll get into that in a minute. So, we are in the end game, firmly end game territory of Once and Future. We only have one more mainline installment left, The Union, which comes out later this month, and also The Coda, which comes out next year. God knows what form that's going to take. But yeah, we are nearing the end. So, the last installment, The Martian Invasion of Planetoid 50, ended with the 10th Doctor, along with the help of Missy, figuring out where the degeneration weapon that struck him at the beginning of the story was made, and that sets in course a sequence of events that takes the 9th Doctor, played by Christopher Eccleston, and the Unbound Doctor, played by David Warner, to Time Lord lore extravaganza history on the level of The Deadly Assassin meets the Timeless Children. Let's play a quick clip, though, from Time Lord Immemorial.
What have you done to my console room?
This is my console room. You're trespassing.
I'm blooming well not. You materialised inside my TARDIS. At least it was my TARDIS, but now look, it's all wrong.
I think you'll find it was you who manifested inside my ship, claiming to be a future version of myself. Oh, what's happening?
Aha! That's more like it. Must have accidentally reset the console wallpaper. And I'm not a future you, I'd remember. You must be the later incarnation.
Unless you're from an alternate universe. Or rather, you are.
Smarts, doesn't it?
What was that?
Degeneration.
No, I don't think so. I may be a little frayed around the edges, but I don't think it's that bad.
Not regeneration, degeneration. I've been regressing, and then unregressing, sort of. Bouncing around from one incarnation to another, backwards, forwards, and now, it looks like, sideways. Sorry, has this not been happening to you?
It has not.
Count yourself lucky. I'm trying to work out how to stop it.
The console's changing again.
No!
So, if the console room is fluctuating between your TARDIS and mine, whose ship are we really in?
And whose universe?
What's that?
Sand. It's pouring through the walls.
It's forming a shape.
So you heard correctly. We've got the 9th Doctor and the Unbound Doctor, who is a Big Finish exclusive Doctor. Big Finish fans are eating well in this particular installment, because not only do we have a Big Finish exclusive Doctor, the Unbound Doctor, we've also got the Lumiat, played by Gina McKee, who is from a prior Big Finish story. We've also got Big Finish companion Liv Chenka, played by Nicola Walker. This is a very lore-heavy story. This is probably the only installment of Once and Future that I can safely say you need some prerequisite for this one, or at the very least you need to do quite a bit of research beforehand. This one is essentially, I think this is maybe acting as like an endgame trilogy. Martian Invasion, Planetoid 50, Time Lord Immemorial, and then The Union, because this one does end in a cliffhanger that leads to The Union, but I won't get into those spoilers here. So this is also a big Christopher Eccleston reunion story, because Gina McKee was in Our Friends in the North, which they filmed in the 1990s, and also he's recorded with David Warner as well. And this is probably the only scenario in which you'll get Christopher Eccleston recording a multi-Doctor story. He said in interviews and at panels and stuff at conventions that he's not interested in multi-Doctor stories because he thinks they're a bit gimmicky. But then Big Finish was like, hey, David Warner. And he's like, yeah, go on, fantastic. And what we have with Time Lord Immemorial is a pretty lore-heavy story where we learn about Time Lord prophecies and we learn about the literal sands of time leaking out that could cause a universal ending event, which has also become so catastrophic that it's involved a Doctor from another universe. Full disclosure, I have not listened to any of the Unbound Doctor adventures, so this is actually my first proper exposure to David Warner's Doctor. He does a really cool job here. I just don't think there's much on a character level other than this is a different version of the Doctor. And 9 and Unbound versions, these two Doctors, they spend a lot of the story apart, which seems like a bit of an interesting decision. But anyway, we do have the titular Time Lord Immemorial as well, voiced by Jesus himself, Robert Powell. If you don't know what I'm referring to, Robert Powell, he played Jesus famously in the 1970s and is considered to be one of the definitive screen portrayals of Jesus. You get Robert Powell here essentially voicing Time Lord Jesus in the Time Lord Immemorial. It's very fitting here. You've got prophecies, you've got teasers of the Doctor's past, present and future stories here as well, including the Doctor potentially learning about the destruction of Gallifrey at his own hands and stuff like that. And with all of this happening, you've got characters that are a little bit sidelined. I think that Nicola Walker does a really good job here as Livchenka, as the sort of like dry, sort of like sardonic companion who has just kind of had it up to here with this bullshit today. And she gets probably the funniest line and the funniest delivery in the entirety of the Once and Future story so far. It's really, really good. But the big surprise for me, though, was Gina McKee playing the Lumiat. And for those of you who don't know, the Lumiat is a Big Finish incarnation of the Master, a incarnation that follows Missy, who has renounced villainy and is now considered to be the Doctor's best friend. And the Lumiat is now meeting the Doctor before that happens, before they even know about Missy, because this is the 8th incarnation in terms of the memories that they've got. And the Lumiat really wants to sort of reach out and extend an olive branch to the Doctor, once their greatest foe, now their best friend. And that was a really cool dynamic for this story. And I had no idea about that going in. I didn't really research who Gina McKee would be playing, and I had no idea who the Lumiat was going into this. But it turns out they are a previously established character. Lisa McMullen, who's the writer of this, is actually one of the creators of the Lumiat as a character as well. And I think that this story, for what it's meant to be, sort of setting up the end game and setting up these Time Lord prophecies and stuff like that, and also some really fun wordplay. There's also a scene which kind of reminded me, or at least it gave me the visual illusions to Dragon Ball Z Battle of Gods, of all things, when they do the ritual towards the end. I don't know why my mind went to that. I guess I'm just sort of anime-brained, and I only can apologize for the endless debauchery that takes place in my brain there. It's a story that I can't really say I enjoyed it, because there's not much of a fun factor to it. There's like so much lore, there's so much info dumping, there's not much character stuff outside of the Lumiat. The Doctor and the Unbound Doctor are separated for most of it, so you don't really get that much banter between the two. And it's so heavy on exposition and Gallifrey world building that it's a really interesting chapter, and it's one that I really admire in terms of like the Once and Future story generally. I can't recommend it, though, as a standalone story, like I could, for example, Two's Company or The Martian Invasion of Planetoid 50 or The Artist at the End of Time. This is strictly you listen to this one if you are keeping up with the story, and you will leave satisfied. It is kind of like a end of Act 2 scenario here. Like, you're either invested and you listen to this to carry on the story and learn more, or you're not and you don't get it. The novelty is terrific. You know, getting all of the actors that Christopher Eccleston has worked with in the past and is great friends with, and put them in a room together, and they have so much fun recording a 60th anniversary Big Finish Doctor Who special. That works really well. And I liked literally the sands of time are leaking, and the Time Lord Immemorial world building, and this destination that the Doctors visit, which is literally holding all of time in a metaphorical hourglass here. That's really fun. However, I can only recommend this if you are keeping up to date with the story. And if you are keeping up to date with the story, folks, you are 6 installments deep here. You're listening to Time Lord Immemorial. Okay, this is like the most redundant review I could possibly do. For what it's worth, though, I thought Eccleston was fun. I think this is the first time that the Ninth Doctor has ever uttered the words Gallifrey, which is very novel to have Christopher Eccleston speak. And I think that the opening act, where you do get quite a bit of 9 and Unbound, that's really entertaining. They just shouldn't have split them up, in my opinion. They split them up, and I think that they should have kept them together, so that you get the antagonistic Doctor banter, in my opinion. But when it comes to reviewing Once and Future Time Lord Immemorial, what can I say? It continues the story. it ends in a pretty interesting place where we figure out how and where the degeneration weapon was made, but who made it and for what purpose. We still have one more installment coming out later this month, Once and Future The Union, featuring Paul McGann, Tom Baker, Carol Ann Ford, and Alex Kingston. This is going to be a pretty jam-packed finale because they have been dragging their feet for 6 installments as to actually advancing the Once and Future plot. So this has got a lot of legwork to do. This has got a lot to build up and to conclude. We'll see how it does.